Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the third annual Crossroads Speaker Series. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Rod Grabowski. I am the Senior Vice President for Advancement and Partnerships at the University of Central Florida and also serve as the CEO of the foundation. It was this event last year that was one of my first events with the university. I've been here 14 months and really am proud of the partnership with Dr. Phillips Charities because this lecture series really showcases the intersection of business and philanthropy. It's a marquee event for UCF. It facilitates meaningful conversation for and with our community, and it's a celebration of our long-standing relationship with Dr. Phillips Charities. We're proud to provide this kind of quality programming for our students, our university, and all of Central Florida. This program is on the UCF Pegasus stage in the Jim and Alexis Pugh Theater of the Dr. Phillips Center for Performing Arts. This is an incredible example of how public, private, and philanthropic partnerships create an incredible impact for our communities. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the president of UCF, Dr. Alexander Cartwright. Dr. Cartwright is UCF's sixth president, is an internationally recognized researcher and scholar in the area of optical sensors, holding 4 patents and serving as a member or fellow of many leading organizations in his field. Under Dr. Cartwright's leadership, UCF is focused on becoming the university for the future, a university committed to unleashing the potential of its students, faculty, and staff, and to produce innovative research and inspiring creative works that change the trajectory of lives across our community and the world. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Alexander Cartwright.
Thank you, Rod. It truly is my pleasure to be here with all of you today. I would like to begin by recognizing a few close friends of the university. UCF Board of Trustees Chair Alex Martins. Yes. Orange County Commissioner Myra Uribe. And members of the UCF Foundation Board. So thank you, DeVos. UCF is pleased to host this series in partnership with Dr. Phillips Charities for the third year. The Crossroads Speaker Series was created to highlight the intersection of business and philanthropy, and to underscore the transformative power of philanthropy. We know that corporate engagement and charitable support have the ability to transform lives, to enrich the human experience, and to propel broad-based prosperity in our communities. At UCF, we have seen firsthand how collaboration and investment from industry unleash potential by amplifying discovery, innovation, and student success. A clear example is the DeVos Sport Business Management Program at UCF, established through a gift from the Richard and Helen DeVos Foundation. Rich and Helen's original vision was to create a world-class program that harnesses the power of sport to positively impact society, and to base that program right here in Orlando. In just 20 years, the DeVos program has grown to be the number 8 ranked sports business management program in the country, putting our region on the map as a top sports business market. DeVos graduates have been employed with every major sports league, property, and agency in the U.S. and beyond. These outstanding graduates are the direct impact of the DeVos family's philanthropy. We are grateful for their generosity, and we are looking forward to hearing Ryan DeVos's perspectives on leadership, philanthropy, and community involvement in just a few minutes. Before we introduce Ryan, I'd like to point out another of UCF's long-standing partners and our co-host today, Dr. Phillips Charities. Yes. UCF's relationship with Dr. Phillips Charities goes back to the very beginning of our university's history. 60 years ago, Howard Phillips, the son of Dr. P. Phillips, was one of UCF's original founders. In fact, he donated funds to secure the land on which our main campus sits today. Since that time, our partnership with Dr. Phillips Charities has created immeasurable impact for UCF through investments in UCF Downtown, our College of Business, UCF Athletics, and many other across our entire campus. In fact, the day after our last Crossroads program, Dr. Phillips Charities announced a $10 million commitment to support the construction of our new College of Nursing building in Lake Nona. This new facility will break ground in early 2024 and will allow us to graduate an additional 150 new nurses annually. Together with Dr. Phillips Charities, we will help address the state's critical nursing shortage and benefit millions of patients and their families by supplying the next generation of well-trained, compassionate night nurses. The work we continue to do together is a testament to the ability of philanthropy to propel our community forward. At this time, I'd like to invite Ken Robinson, President and CEO of Dr. Phillips Charities, to the stage. Ken, I want you to know that we are deeply grateful to you and to Dr. Phillips Charities for your visionary leadership and your steadfast partnership in helping unleash potential and making our world a better place. Thank you so much. Thank you. And now, please join me in welcoming Ken Robinson to the podium.
Well, thank you, President Cartwright. And I always hate when somebody thanks me. It's really Dr. Phillips. And we're so fortunate to have a great board and a great staff that a number of them are here with us today that guide us and govern us and make sure that we're doing the right things to honor the Phillips family. So if you're a staff member, please wave your hand so everybody can thank you too. President Cartwright, thank you for your leadership and your vision and what you're doing in such a short time. I just heard today that the Dr. Phillips School of Real Estate is number 5 in the country. So, you know, DeVos has got to move up a couple spots and they'll be right there. When we began thinking about the Crossroads series, it was a time when capitalism, entrepreneurship, and the free enterprise system were being challenged and treated kind of like as a pariah in this country. And we thought, that's really the wrong approach to it. The reality is that these are the things that made America not just great, but a shining example to the rest of the world. The U.S., the citizens, the philanthropists are the great givers, and it's kind of like built into our genes. It's who we are, and if raised the right way, you want to help others, and most everybody that sits in this room today is part of that. And it is just amazing to, as we talk about this conversation, to look at the entrepreneurs and the great givers in our society. It's who Dr. Phillips was, and it's who Richard DeVos was. And you look at the community and how it's benefited from just these two men by themselves and their families and what it ultimately became and the giving that's taken place. Dr. Phillips at one point was the largest citrus grower in the world, if any of you didn't know that. But it didn't come easy when he came here in 1895 with $5,000 in his pocket to be a citrus grower. He was immediately hit with two of the largest freezes, most devastating freezes ever. So he left, went back to Tennessee, regrouped, came back in 1902. Like any entrepreneur, not afraid, unapologetic, started over and became that largest citrus grower in the world. And it's just an amazing story to think about. When Dr. Phillips' oldest son, Howard Phillips, passed away in 1979, there were no heirs to the family business. His instructions to Jim Henson and Gene Johnson were really very clear. Create a nonprofit that mirrored the family's giving. And we have all their notes of where they gave in the past. We use those as words to define the Phillips family's donor intent, and it's our North Star. It's what we think about every day when we're gifting money out. To date, that $5,000 investment has turned into over $250 million worth of giving into this local community. That's the power of the intersection of philanthropy and private free enterprise system. One of the areas of focus for the Phillips family was education. Dr. Cartwright, you stole some of my thunder there. Howard Phillips was instrumental in FTU being created at that point in time, and we've been partners with UCF FTU ever since the inception. If you look at it, we've been involved in sporting, we've been involved in scholarships, programs in economics, the School of Real Estate, and most recently, the downtown campus through Thad Seymour's leadership, and then now the School of Nursing. And having just turned 65, that's very important to me. We want strong nurses out there. One of the great additions to Central Florida in recent years has been the Orlando Magic. Not just the excitement of having a professional team in this town, but more importantly, for us, more importantly, the addition of the DeVos family to the community. We're excited to have, as this year's speaker, Ryan DeVos, and are looking forward to learning more about the family and their business. Before that, though, it's my pleasure to introduce Jay Riola, who will serve as the moderator today for Ryan DeVos. Jay is the Executive Vice President of Strategy and Innovation for the Orlando Magic, where he's worked in roles since 2006. Started as an intern, I learned today. Jay played a pivotal role in launching cutting-edge digital technologies that amplify the fan experience. He's a trailblazer in data analytics. He shaped sports industry's adoption of sophistication by launching NBA's recognized best-in-class analytics department. At UCF, Jay is the adjunct professor of sports business analytics with the DeVos Business Management Graduate Program, where he also serves as chair of the program's National Advisory Board. Jay is active in the Central Florida community, serving as finance chair for College Park United Methodist Church, volunteers with Special Olympics, created his own nonprofit, Sports to Change, and believes strongly in helping these young students learn about volunteerism. So please join me in greeting Jay Riola.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, President Cartwright and Mr. Robinson, for your remarks. It is truly inspiring to witness the innovation, job creation, and positive influence the partnership between UCF and Dr. Phillips has on our community. It is now my honor to introduce and welcome to the stage Ryan DeVos, my colleague at the Orlando Magic and honored speaker of Crossroads, the intersection of business and philanthropy. Ryan is Vice President of Shareholder Engagement for the Orlando Magic, where he plays a primary leadership role in ownership engagement and fostering the DeVos family's commitment to be good stewards of the team for the Orlando community. Prior to this role, Ryan spent 4 seasons as Director of Magic Gaming, overseeing all aspects of the Magic's NBA 2K League team and growing the Magic's fan base through esports. He is also co-owner and general manager of Major League Pickleball's Orlando Squeeze franchise. Ryan volunteers his time in the community with the Magic's various community initiatives and other nonprofit organizations, including Advent Health for Children Foundation. Ryan, if you'll please join me on stage. All right. Ryan, welcome, and thank you for being this year's Crossroads guest speaker. I'm looking forward to hearing your perspectives on leadership and philanthropy, particularly as it relates to the Magic's community involvement. And of course, I think we're all excited to hear your thoughts on what's ahead for this season of Magic basketball.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks,
All
John.
right, so we'll get started. The NBA season just tipped off, and with it, your family's 32nd year as caretakers of the Orlando Magic. What are you most excited about this season?
Yeah, well, first, would like to thank President Cartwright, Ken, Rod, everybody at UCF, and Dr. Phillips. Truly honored to be asked to do this. Did not expect it by any stretch of the imagination. So excited to be here and excited to have a conversation with you, Jay. For this year, it's thrilling. I mean, this group, how many, I can see some of you, but how many watched the game last night? Obviously, a few hands. Didn't end up, in favor of the Magic, but first half, you could see the energy of this team and the togetherness that Coach Mosley, Jeff Weltman, the entire basketball group has been able to foster. And I think that, for me, is something I haven't seen in a number of years and is truly really exciting. So I think as I look at our team, just excited about this group and the togetherness that they've been able to foster.
Great. If I can, I want to turn the attention to you just a little bit. If you could tell us about your career path, how did you start out, what are you doing today, and what does the future hold?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if I can say it in this room, but I am a Rollins College graduate. It is no UCF, but I enjoyed my time. So I graduated back in 2013, spent 3 years up in New York at the NBA League office, working in global partnerships, so overseeing accounts like Pepsi, SAP, things like that, and really building relationships within the league office structure. So worked out great to be able to do that. Came down to Orlando 16, thereabouts, and spent a number of years with you, Jay, working through some of our strategic initiatives, whether that was helping to open the Lakeland Magic, what was the Lakeland Magic, now the Osceola Magic, and then rolled into Magic Gaming. So spent, as you said in your opening remarks, spent 4 years with Magic Gaming, kind of overseeing that property, and had and still have a lot of passion for the esports space. But as we transitioned and continue to transition our family ownership and stewardship from the second generation, so my parents, uncles and aunts, to our third generation, myself, siblings, cousins, was really excited to step into a role to help kind of usher that along and be able to serve as a family representative here in town. My wife and I are residents of Orlando. We love it here. We've made this our home. And so to be able to do that, kind of boots on the ground and represent the family accordingly has been really thrilling. Looking forward, it's really just whatever, filling whatever role the family needs. As I continue in my job at the Magic, it's about learning right now and representing the community every chance I get, and figuring it out as I go.
Fantastic. Really interesting to hear about all of the different experiences that you've had in sports business, from the league to the team to our affiliate franchises. What have been some of the proudest moments for you in your career so far?
Yeah, there's a number that stand out. I think the first one that comes to mind is launching Magic Gaming. Obviously there's some entrepreneurial threads here that Ken touched on, and I think that was very much a little startup, and was really fun to kind of build out, and it really serves as a microcosm of the Magic. You are in some cases selling tickets to events that we hosted here locally. You're building out marketing plans. You're establishing a brand. And so that was a really fun opportunity for me to kind of get my hands on something and learn along the way, a little testing lab. So that was certainly a proud moment. I think another one that's really stood out to me is being a very small part of our 30 for 30 initiative. This took place over 2 years to really celebrate 30 years of DeVos family stewardship, and that was just an opportunity to highlight local organizations in the community doing amazing work, and so being able to just help represent the family in that capacity was definitely a very proud moment for me. One that's more recent, and I heard a few chuckles from the crowd, but the Orlando Squeeze, has been a really fun and app for Dr. Phillips, tying into the citrus industry. The Squeeze and everything with Major League Pickleball has been another somewhat similar to Magic Gaming, another opportunity for me to kind of stretch my legs a bit and try to jump into a space that I didn't really know anything about prior to, other than it just being another sport. And it all kind of, I've learned, translates over pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting innovation is a common thread between
Definitely.
a lot of that. So I'm going to rewind a little bit. In the opening question, I referred to your family as the caretakers of the Magic. I'm using that word very intentionally. I want to come back to that word. It is an important part of your family's values and philosophy regarding your relationship with the community. When your grandparents purchased the team in 1991, they had a vision that the Orlando Magic organization would be a platform to improve the Central Florida community. What did they mean by that, and how is that vision reflected today?
Yeah, I think to be a caretaker is just to, we want to ensure we're putting out the best possible property for everybody in this community to rally behind. The Magic I see as being a real rallying point for this community from all walks of life, all backgrounds, to come around one kind of shared vision and shared goal, and that's obviously to go and win a championship. And so to be able to guide that in a way that is inclusive to all and encourages everybody's participation. And that's for fans, corporate partners, season ticket holders, whatever the case may be. There's so many different people that touch this business in a variety of ways. So helping to facilitate that. I think some of that is being a part of the community, right? It's hugely important to just be here, be present, contribute where you can, whether that's serving on boards or giving to some of the local agent nonprofits doing amazing work. All of that I think is certainly being a positive caretaker. And really for myself, I view it as how do we transition to the fourth generation? In family of business, we oftentimes have a saying, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, which first generation will start the business, and unfortunately, a third generation will lose it. And that's obviously, fortunately, we're not there. That's great. We haven't screwed it up yet, but it's to be able to transition that down to the fourth generation, to be able to continue this legacy that my grandparents set. One anecdote that comes to mind is, before my grandfather passed away a number of years ago now, his last, real words to me was take care of that team down in Orlando. And that was truly powerful for me to make sure I'm living up to that legacy.
Wow. So I think this will connect well into a lot of what you said and touch on one of the really neat initiatives that you've been a part of and talked a little bit about earlier. Over the past 2 seasons, to honor the 30 years of ownership of the Magic by the DeVos family, the DeVos Family Foundation implemented its 30 for 30 initiative, which you touched on. If you could tell us a little bit more about the inspiration for the program, what it accomplished and is accomplishing, and what it meant for you to be a part of that, if you could.
Yeah, very much a small part of it. There's a combination of great work from folks like Linda. I see Linda Lehman Gonzalez up in the front row, and the entire OMYF team working alongside the DeVos Family Foundation. And so they did an amazing job, and so I just kind of helped layer in, and again, just be that family representative, be here, be present, be a part of the community. And so, that was an amazing opportunity. But ultimately, I think it was about giving back to a community that's given us so much over 30 years. This has been a second home. I grew up in Michigan, have been down here for 12 years or so now, and so this has very much become my home. But for a lot in the family, this is a bit of a second home, and so this community's accepted all of us incredibly, graciously, and so we just wanted to be able to give back and say thank you for 30 fantastic years of being a part of the Orlando Magic, helping to carry on the history of that organization. I think the beauty of the program was to really highlight a different organization every night and to give these organizations an opportunity to tell their story on a pretty great stage. 16,500-ish people, 1,000 people in the building on any given night is pretty incredible to be able to say, this is who we are as an organization, this is who we stand for, or what we stand for. And we'd love to continue this work with everybody's collective support. So be able to give them that opportunity to tell their story, I think, was incredibly powerful. Not only for me to hear it directly from a lot of people, from the execs of those organizations or people that have been touched by those organizations, was powerful for me to hear and to be able to see on a almost nightly basis with the team.
Yeah, it's an incredible initiative, and it's really amazing to see how many nonprofits there are locally that are working to make an impact, and for the Magic and the DeVos Family Foundation to support that and kind of give recognition and financial support to them has been incredible. So, kind of my next question. So your grandfather, Rich DeVos, was one of the most successful entrepreneurs in American history. Your family, including your parents, have a long history of leadership and service across both the corporate and public sectors. What are the most powerful leadership lessons you've learned from them, and any other mentors who may have influenced you along the way?
Hold that thought. There you go.
That's
Perfect.
the best I'll do right now. All right.
Well done. Feels a bit like a setup, Jay. I mean, I worked for you for a while now, so I guess no longer. But you can honestly say you have been an amazing mentor to me for my entire time with the organization. So very much
Well,
that.
thank you.
Yes,
That means
absolutely.
a lot to hear from you. Thank you.
Folks like Alex, I see Alex in the first row, has been an incredible mentor. Charlie Freeman with Magic. There's a number of folks organizationally that come to mind. My grandfather certainly. He, you say, one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the history of the U.S. and I guess that's technically true. He was just my grandpa. And that was just kind of him for any of you who met him. He was just rich, and he was a very sweet soul. I think his leadership style was very much that. He was himself unapologetically and loved everybody and supported everybody and did truly believe in people at their core. And so being able to take a little bit of that has been, I think, really great for me to try and, go beyond just business, get to know people on a more personal level. Not necessarily what they're doing in the organization, but who they are as people, what their backgrounds are, what their family life is. That was something that he really prided himself on. And listening, listening along the way. My dad is certainly another one. Very thoughtful leader, helped teach me how to show up, whether it's things like this, which certainly don't come naturally, but or in board meetings. Another random anecdote as I think through things. Growing up, he felt very strongly about going to Magic games and dressing accordingly. So he would always wear a suit and tie. And as a 6-year-old boy, I would wear a little suit, and off we went. All I wanted to do was wear jeans and a jersey and a T-shirt, and no such luck. But he, certainly taught me how to show up and how to kind of be thoughtful along the way. And my mom is another one that stands out very much so. She is a very strong woman and has taught me how to rise to the challenge in the face of adversity, and to how to, fight for what you believe in. If you believe in your core, this is the right direction. Ignore the headwinds and keep on trucking.
Well, incredible to hear your thoughts on that, and I will echo just the amazing leadership that we have at the Orlando Magic, and we hear often that, and this is very much true, we work for the best owners in professional sports, and the atmosphere and the culture that are created amongst us as a staff, and having the ability to interact with you and your other family members, and seeing how you lead and your commitment to leadership in a variety of ways is really impactful. So your grandparents and family also established a remarkable legacy of philanthropy, investing in countless organizations throughout Central Florida, but also in your home state, in their home state of Michigan, and around the world. And as you've touched on, you are now part of the third generation of your family to carry this legacy forward. What does this mean to you, and how have your experiences shaped your perspective on community partnership and philanthropy?
Yeah, so my grandparents' legacy of giving really was driven by my grandma. She, very early on in their marriage and their relationship, said, we will tithe, we will set aside 10% of everything we make and give those to give that to those who are less fortunate. And so that's carried on through the generations. At some points they got a little too generous at times. They eventually, as Grandpa was getting older, had to take his checkbook away so he couldn't just start writing checks to people that asked along the way. But yeah, that's certainly continued. My wife Michelle, who's up here, and I, just being part of this Orlando community, try to give back in various ways. Michelle sits on the Science Center board. We get involved through the Orlando Magic Youth Foundation, sit on the Advent Health for Children board. And so just finding those opportunities to marry personal passions and what we truly care for, a shared love of children, and certainly those who are less fortunate is a big driving force behind that. But it's really just about giving back to a community, like I said, similar to 30 for 30. That's given a lot to us. And so that's a huge chunk. But I think to the Advent Health for Children, the board, and thinking about kids who have to spend sometimes a year plus in the hospital and don't get to celebrate things like birthdays and Christmas and all these momentous occasions that should be so joyous, and they're stuck in a hospital. And so just being able to help brighten their days a little bit, just take a little bit of that burden, I think is just opportunities like that are truly powerful, and can go a really long way.
Absolutely. So in addition, obviously, to financially giving, your personal and your family's service back to the community includes serving on nonprofit boards. And you've talked a little bit about this already, but as a volunteer board member and leader, what have you learned about the impact and value of strong partnerships between business and those nonprofit organizations?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that is it takes a village. This community comes around a lot of these organizations in a really powerful way. And, there are certainly great larger donors like Dr. Phillips Charities who do a fantastic job of pushing so many wonderful initiatives along. But some of these organizations are so small, but they have a massive impact in the communities that they're serving. And so it does truly take a village, and it takes corporations to come around those organizations and help support them, whether it's volunteerism or actual donations. So I think that's a really big thing. And I think to the DeVos program and joining you on the advisory board for the DeVos program, and just finding ways to help mentor and foster a relationship with those students along the way. That program's produced a number of absolutely fantastic Magic employees. Shelley Wilkes, who oversees all the marketing and everything for the Magic, was a part of the first cohort of that program. And so, finding those opportunities to kind of layer in and help play a role as a family is hugely important.
Yeah. And really is incredible how many sports business, sports industry leaders have come out of the DeVos Sports Business Management Program. And we're lucky to work with a number at the Magic, but general managers, chief strategy officers, heads of social media. There's so many diverse roles within sports that have been fortunate to gain their education as part of that program. And so thank you to you and your family for that. So maybe transition a little bit to sports here. With your longtime involvement in professional sports, esports, pickleball, all different kinds of sports, you understand the power of teamwork. What does it take to create a championship team, and what of these lessons in teamwork also translate to running a business or a nonprofit organization?
Yeah, I think from a teamwork standpoint, it's all about bringing in different backgrounds, different perspectives, and ensuring it's not just an echo chamber of, kind of your one, this is the direction and everybody supports that, a bunch of yes men and women, and that's not really entirely helpful. I like with our little teams having pushback along the way and discussion, because people are bringing different perspectives, different backgrounds, different ideas to the table. And so that was always really helpful for me. You don't build a NBA roster with a bunch of point guards or centers. So
Right.
Just having those different skill sets to be able to mesh, I think is really important. I think I touched on it a little bit with my grandfather and just his love of people. Having a camaraderie is hugely important. truly caring about and caring for the people that you work with goes an incredibly long way. I think that's really number one for me as I kind of look through it. I think it's a bit of both of those things, and that ultimately that leads to people who are more excited and energized to show up to work every day as themselves. They don't have to be anything other than, and I think that will ultimately lead to success. One on the pickleball side of things, we've got a really great group of 4 players, 2 men and 2 women, who all get along incredibly well. And back in September, we won an event up in Atlanta, and everybody was kind of ruling us out, didn't think we were nearly good enough. Had to go through teams that were on paper, quote unquote, better. But I think ultimately what got us there was just those things. A group that really cared about each other, that got along really well, and that was able to rise to the occasion at the right time.
Well, that's great. Well, congratulations on that.
We unfortunately just lost in the finals this past weekend for the Dallas event, but we lost to the same team that we played in Atlanta, so it wasn't an entire fluke. It was fun.
Great. Maybe transition to the business side of sports. How, from your vantage point, how has the business of sports evolved in the 30 years since your family first purchased the team, and maybe more particular for you, what has changed in the last 3 to 5 years, and where do you see the industry going in the next decade?
Yeah, I was just born when we bought the team, so I can't speak too much to that.
And you were wearing suits at the age of
exactly. Just
6 to the game.
Right. Yeah.
That wasn't my
one-year-old
6-year-old
in a
fan
suit.
experience. It was a little different, but yeah. Okay.
But no, I have to imagine that, I do truly believe that the Orlando Magic organization is absolutely world-class, not only in the NBA, but in the collective sporting world. And that's the people that we've been able to attract because of the culture that we built. Huge thanks and kudos to Alex for the culture that he's been able to build. And so, I think this group is incredibly sharp and has done things like innovating the ticketing programs. The fast break pass to be able to oversell the building and get people in at a more reasonable dollar amount, to kind of revamping the entire fan experience. How do you make the experience, bring it from cold hot dogs, warm beer, and a Pepsi along the way, to having more localized food options, food and beverage options that kind of speak to the culture and everything of the city. I think those types of things go a really long way, and I think this Magic organization has truly knocked it out of the park. Moving forward, I love the NBA product. I think the NBA continues to innovate. There's the in-season tournament that has kind of changed what was traditionally a quieter time in the league, trying to compete against the NFL. Now adding a little bit of meaning to games being played in the month of November, I think is hugely important. So, big credit to the NBA of finding opportunities like that to continue to innovate, to continue to have a new storyline for fans to latch onto. And as far as fans, I know Commissioner Silver likes to say 99% of our fan base will never actually see a game in person. And so how do we find ways to bring the Orlando Magic or NBA experience to fans all over the world? Whether that's global games, like a game like taking place in Mexico City this week, actually. We'll be playing in Mexico City, I think, on Thursday night. So finding opportunities like that to bring the game to other people. And I think technology will play a big role in that. I know they've been playing around with VR and opportunities like that to kind of feel the game a little bit more. For the broader sports landscape, I do believe in the power of alternative sports, like pickleball. That was a huge reason why we wanted to jump into that. Looking at sports that have a large grassroots following, because if you are, or I guess grassroots participation more so, because the theory there is if you are participating in the sport, you're more likely to watch a professionalized version of it to, similar to esports, to learn from the best, to be able to watch them compete at the highest level and take what you can to your game. And so that's what I got excited about with pickleball. Massive grassroots support, and now we're working on bringing that to a more professionalized level. And there's different leagues that are doing that, like TGL with the golf league. Rory and Tiger's new kind of indoor experience will be really interesting. I mean, how do you bring golf from what was traditionally a multiple day tournament over the course of the entirety of the day to a 2-hour programmable window? I mean, innovations like that are huge for the broader sports landscape.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear your thoughts on that, and I can't help but think about the Magic's core values: innovation, delivering a legendary experience for our fans, teamwork, and community. And we've touched on all four in our conversation today. And absolutely. I think number one game experience in all of the NBA, and just kind of focusing us on delivering the absolute best experience for our fans, whether that's in our arena or elsewhere in the world, is a huge priority. All right, so the Orlando Magic and your family have been so impactful for this community in the downtown district. What's new or exciting on this horizon, and what has this leadership meant for the city of Orlando?
I think somewhat flip that. I think we have been lucky enough to be able to work with a fantastic group at the city, and a fantastic group with the Orange County. Commissioner Uribe is here, so thank you for coming. But I think to be able to work with great partners is hugely beneficial, and the city of Orlando is certainly has been an amazing one. Mayor Dyer has been a huge supporter and proponent of the team for a long time. I think I touched on it a little bit earlier of, how do we, as a representative of the city of Orlando, organizationally, how do we kind of bring some of the values of Orlando to other parts of the country, and touched on the game in Mexico. How do we start to bring that to other parts of the world? And so if we can kind of be a bit of a guiding light in that regard, I think that's a benefit for us and for the city and the county, and hopefully the state of Florida as well. So being able to tap into that a little bit, and have a place that have a team that everybody in this town can be proud of, can rally around and support.
Great. All right, last question. I think it's fitting given that we're on the UCF stage and we're at the Crossroads. In the audience today, we have students who are launching their careers and exploring the impact that they want to make in their communities. What advice would you give directly to them?
Yeah, I think in the sports world, it's an incredibly small circle of folks who, not only in the NBA, but in all professional sports, who work with these teams, operate these teams. And so, getting your foot in the door, whether that's jumping in and being a game night staff member or an internship. I know you started as an intern, Jay. Charlie Freeman started as an intern. There's countless stories within the Magic organization of folks starting with an internship and being able to take that forward to a full-time, amazing career. And so really just getting your foot in the door, not being afraid to, if you don't necessarily know how to do the job, figure it out. And don't be afraid to say, this isn't for me. It's either below me or out of my breadth of knowledge. Take every opportunity you can. Get your foot in that small sports ecosystem, and be able to take that along the way, whether that's within the same organization or jumping to different ones as opportunity allows all over the country. Sports is an amazing place to work, as you well know. I mean, it's so much fun, and I still very much get chills pretty much every single game night, but certainly on opening night. I mean, seeing the programming that the team does to hype up the fans, it's nothing short of amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I would highly encourage anybody who's looking to get in the space, jump in. Don't be afraid of failure. I've certainly failed plenty of times along the way, but dive in, see what you can figure out along the way.
Well, great advice. Ryan, on behalf of myself and everyone here from the Orlando Magic, Dr. Phillips Charities, and UCF, thank you for the time. Thank you for spending time with us and the insights that you've shared. To our members of the audience, thank you for coming to this year's Crossroads Speaker Series. You're welcome to join us for a reception fittingly in the DeVos family room immediately after this. So thank you for the time and have a great evening. Thank you.